you. Can't really see you, can you? As Donna said, I'm Keely. I'm a paper cutting artist. I have been cutting for around about 6 years now. Started out originally as a way for me to just relax and unwind and de-stress from the day job, and has completely taken over my entire life, it's safe to say. I cut every single day pretty much. At this time of the year, I'm doing 6 to 8 hours a day at least. I've got some mammoth ones next week, but I'll tell you more about that as we go along. So I'm going to go through today a demo of the squirrel template that you got in from Pim's, and I'm going to show you some of the basic techniques and everything in there. So the tools of the trade, shall we start with those? Hang on while I try and do this without cutting myself. 2 seconds. I'm one-handed at the moment. Is this in particular. So you'll have something that looks a little bit like that in your kit. That's the scalpel blade. I'm using a slightly different blade to the one that's in your kit, but the principles are all exactly the same. So we'll need that. We'll need our template, which hopefully you'll have. And you need a flat surface to cut on. So I have, and you'll see it when I flip my camera in a moment, I have a cutting mat, a self-healing cutting mat. You can pick them up pretty much any craft shop on the high street, Hobbycraft, the works are really good. They're not highly priced at all in there. I've got a massive one, but an A4 one will do, yeah. Or you can use something like a glass chopping board, or even like a placemat that's got a laminated top on it. Anything that where your knife's not going to stick in it, basically. So not the box that it came in, but pretty much anything else will do it for you. The squirrel one that we're going to do incorporates a couple of the basic techniques. It gets you used to the pressure that you'll need to use, which is similar to the pressure you use when you're writing. So you're not going to be digging in dead hard. It's a really light touch. And we're also going to cover later in it, we're going to cover how to do curves. My top tip though, if you're not with us the whole way through, when you're doing curves, is turn your paper, not your knife. Top tip number 1. Top tip number 2, flat surface to cut on. Best one I've ever found is an ironing board. I kid you not. I'm on an ironing board tonight. It's brilliant because you can raise it and you can lower it so that you've always got a nice straight back and you've got good posture. Because obviously if you're going to be there a while, it's pretty important. Top tip number 3 would be don't press too hard. The harder you press, the more your hand's going to ache, the more difficult it is for you to control where your blade is going, and the quicker your blade will blunt, and therefore it's harder to do your whole piece. Okay, the sharper your blade is, the better it is, really. You can get replacement blades, so all of the knives that you've got in your kits, you can actually take the blades out and put fresh ones in. And again, you can pick these up pretty much. Hobbycraft is probably the most likely place that you're going to get them. Otherwise, I'll share where I get them online as well for you, but you can pick them up Amazon, places like that as well. Okay, so before I start, I'm just going to turn my camera off for a minute while I flip it and put it into position so it's looking down on the cutting area. You don't want to see the state of like what's behind us and everything and to the other side, and you definitely don't want to see up my nostrils. So bear with me a second while I just turn off my camera and put it into position. I won't be a second, guys. Okay, can we all see? All right.
Yes, that looks great.
Yeah, does that look good?
So I don't know how good everybody is on Zoom. I'm finding my feet. But if you go on to Keely's recording and press pin video, it just makes it bigger on your screen so you can see the tutorial better. Just there's my little top tip. That's the only one I've got, actually. I've picked.
It's a really good one though, Donna. It is a really good one. So this is, well, I see there, that's better, isn't it? That's brighter. I can actually see what I'm doing now. Yay. So this is what we're hopefully going to end up with at the end of our tutorial. Okay, everything that you need to do this is in your kit. So I'll just pop this one to one side for now and we'll get showing you. So you've got your big A4 piece of paper and it's got both of your templates on. So the first thing I'm going to do to make life a bit easier for me is I'm going to cut my piece of paper in half as close to the squirrel template as I dare, just because I find it easier to maneuver and to move it around. I'm going to have fun today because I've got a lead. I've had to plug my phone in and I've got a lead right in my way. Okay. So you can see I'm just moving really slowly in a straight line, or as straight as you can get. And as I said before, the pressure that I would suggest that you use would be about the same as when you're writing. So if you're quite a firm writer and you hold your pen quite tightly, try and loosen your grip. If you've got one, a nice cup of tea, a warm cup of tea, to pop your hand around the cup just loosens all your muscles and it stops you gripping too hard as well. So whenever we're doing a paper cut, we are cutting from the back of the piece. So we're going to flip this over at the end. So no one's going to see any mistakes you make on the back. They're not going to see whether you're dead close to the lines or anything like that. So you don't need to worry there. And we're going to be cutting away everything that's grey on this template. Okay, so we're going to start in the middle. We're going to work our way out. We're also going to start with the smallest details first. So we're going to do the little triangles first and then do the bigger details. One reason that we do that is if we do the small ones, it keeps, and we start in the middle, it keeps the integrity of the paper, so it stops it being as likely to rip. The other reason we start with the fiddly bits first is because if we make a mistake, we haven't really cut very much if we need to start all over again. So bonus number 2. So pop your paper, your template, at an angle that's comfortable for you. Okay, I always have my left hand, I'm right-handed, but you can do this right or left-handed. I always pop my hand sort of on one side just to keep it steady as I start. And it helps me to turn it then as well. And we'll start with this little triangle at the end, at the back of the head. Okay, and we're just gonna start in one top corner. So I'm just gonna pull this a little bit towards myself so I can see properly because I haven't got my glasses on. And we're just gonna pop our knife in. You'll feel it sort of sink into the paper almost. We're not going dead hard. And we're just gonna really gently pull towards ourselves. Okay. We're then going to turn the paper, find where we finished. I'm going all wonky today, and pull towards ourselves again. And then we're going to finish the triangle, finding that corner and coming to where we started. And then we've got our first bit out. Done. We have a little hole in our paper, we're off. So we'll do this one next because it's quite close to it. So just find when you want to start. Pull towards it, turn your paper so that your hand's always at the same sort of angle. And again, we're just pulling towards. If you're not feeling really confident because some of these gaps are quite small, go inside the grey instead of bang on the line, because you can always cut more away, but you can't put it back once you've cut it off. And as I say, because it's the back, no one will ever know, and you can just say, well, actually, that's exactly how it's supposed to be, and it's totally perfect. Okay, so we'll do this little ear part next. We're going to come along and do this bit. So again, this is quite close to this. So if you're not feeling confident, maybe start a little, go inside the line instead of bang on it. turn again. I'm using my finger to keep it nice and steady and almost as a guideline as well. Turning. And just nice and slow, there's no rush. The idea is we're going to relax. Okay, put that bit on. So we'll do these two little bits and then we're going to go to the smaller pieces around it. So that went
everybody
quicker than
getting
we
on?
thought, isn't it? How's everyone going? All quiet.
Oh.
Okay, so this will give me a chance to show you curves, and in a moment when I've done this we should have time as well. I'll pick up the other template, the pumpkin template, and I'll show you circles on that as well. I'll demo a couple of circles because they're the trickiest thing to do, shall we say. My first circle, more like a 20p piece than a circle. Not gonna lie, it wasn't pretty at all. But again, it's like anything, you find your technique and then you sort of just practice them, just keep practicing them and you will get better. So I'm going to start at the base of the stem. You can start either side, whichever way you want to. There's no right or wrong. So I'm just going to start at the base of the stem and start working my way all the way around the outside. Okay, so these are slightly bigger shapes and bigger lines to do than we did in the middle. So I'm going to need to turn my paper a little bit more than I did to start off with. So I'm just going to find the start of the base. And again, I'm still going slowly. I'm not, rushing myself. Now, you could do the end curvy or you could do it quite pointy. It's totally up to you. I'm going to do this curvy. So you can see as I'm doing the curves, I'm shortening how far I'm cutting and I'm turning my paper each time. So I'm doing a little cut, turning, little cut, turning, little cut, turning, and then going to the middle part. Okay, I'm then going to turn my paper around again. So I'm back to where I started, back to the same position I was in before. Find where my last cut finished. And then I'm going to pull down towards myself. And I'm going to make this one spiky, I think, instead. I'll find my other cut. And to get a really nice, precise, sharp point, I'm going to go across to finish this line. I'm going to go across where I cut last time. So I'm creating an X in the paper, and that'll give me a really nice sharp point, and it'll make the finished cut easier to take out of your whole piece. And then I'm just going to do the same along this one. Turn back again so I'm in a similar position. And I'm just crossing them over. Again. Cross. A bigger one. So I'm going to slow down a little bit so I get more control and see where I'm going. Okay, now we've got a curve. All right, so I'm going to flip my paper the other way around so that I'm always cutting towards myself again. I'm going to start at the top. So I'm still doing like my crossing technique there. And then as I start to go into the curve, I'm going to turn my paper a little bit, small cut and turn, small cut and turn. Okay. And this curve is smaller than this curve, but the same principle applies. So down, except that you won't have as many turns and as many cuts. Ta-da-da-da!
Wow.
So this is the back, don't forget. Obviously it's all upside down and everything at the minute, I know that. So that's your back. And then when you turn it over, it's going to look something like that. So you can see when you turn it over, no one can tell whether you were anywhere near the lines or not, which is like the joy of it. You know, for all they know, it's absolutely perfectly as it's supposed to be. But even, yeah, I mean, you might not be able to see on mine, but even I don't always follow the lines all the time. So once we've finished it, how is everybody getting on? Are we getting fairly close? Whoops. Oh, I've dropped me lid
I've done
off.
next. I've done the pumpkin because I did.
Shimmery, shiny, gorgeously beautiful. My favouriteest paper in the whole wide world, copper. It's pearlescent paper, so when it's made, it's pearlized, so it all shimmers in the lights. Looks lovely next to a fairy like this one. We've got our backing paper, so we're going to go in with a bit of glue. We're not going to go mental with the glue. We don't need every single tiny bit sticking. We just need enough to make it stay in one place. Yeah, pop a little bit maybe on the stalk as well. See how little glue I used on these. And then when we stick it down, we need to stick it down so that we've got enough room to have a bit of a border all the way around the outside on it. Okay, so we'll just lightly press. And you don't want to put loads of glue on anyway, because then you end up with them horrible like bumps. You know, when you used to Pritt stick at school and you used to get big bumps in your paper, that's because you put too much on. So we'll just lightly press it down. Clean fingers, obviously. Okay, and then to get the finished effect that you saw on the one at the very beginning, we're basically just going to cut around it again, but leaving a bit of a border. So I'm going to start the same sort of place as I started last time. So I'm going to start, I always start on the right just because I'm right-handed. So what I'm going to do is, obviously we haven't got a guideline really, have we? But what we have got is the edge of the white. So we're going to follow parallel to the edge of the white. However much space you want to give yourself, you can do it quite close to it, you can do it a bit further away. I'm going to do somewhere in between the two. And I'm basically just going to follow around the outside of the original shape. And I'm same techniques. I'm going to keep turning my paper so that my hand's always in a comfortable and stable position. Yeah. Turn it again so that I've got control and I can see where I'm going. You can see the difference in the shine there. So that's when it gets like light directly on it. No, that one is when it gets light directly on it, and that's when it hasn't. And the shimmer's totally different, isn't it? You can see. So do you want me to show you circles on the pumpkin?
Yeah, if you don't mind, just a little.
Yeah, of course, because circles can be, as I said, circles can be the trickiest. So I'm just using the template from last week, as you do. So in this design, it's got quite a few circles. I'd say when you do this, start with those circles because they are the trickiest, and you don't want to be getting close to the end and then get frustrated that you've got something dead difficult to do. Whereas if you do the hard bit first, you can relax into the rest. So circles, I put my thumb underneath the corner of my paper and I grip it really, really lightly. I pick whichever circle I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this one. I go, press my knife in again. We're pretty gentle. We're not pressing dead hard. I do a little cut and I turn. So you remember when I was saying about the curves on the other one? Little cuts in and turning. I'm using the part where my thumb is underneath to turn. So I'm barely moving my hand. I literally am just tightening my grip a little bit. And that is pulling the knife towards me. and then turn a bit more and just keep turning. Keep going. So you travel like across your mat a little bit, but that's all right. Move along to the other side until we get all the way around to the beginning again. One circle out. Do the one next to it just so you can see. So we're just going to go in. I'm doing little cuts. I'm literally just tightening my grip a little bit, and that pulls the knife towards you. So you're not making massive movements with your actual hand. Like really, your thumb and forefinger are doing all of the work on this, and the paper, the turning of the paper. Last couple of bits, there we go, and it just pops out.
How do you know when you need to change your blade, Keely?
I haven't got a pen or anything. So all I do, if I'm doing like really small little marks, is I just curve my, did you see how I twisted my hand a little bit there?
Mm-hmm.
Go in at the top and then just twist your hand the other way. And that will also make tiny, tiny circles. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
Just about, yeah, because it's a really tiny circle.
Yeah.
But on a bigger scale, you would do like that, and it's a really nice way to make a pretty simple sort of leaf shape cut out. But you could add like small details into things using that kind of technique. Your leaves in the big pumpkin template are really similar to your other curves. So you just start at the top and just nice and slow and steady follow the line around to the bottom, and then just go from the top again around the opposite way. And again, just turn your paper a little bit as you're going along. So as I say, you can always cut away a little bit more if you want to define your pieces. So it would be the same with something like that, like